Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Amanda and today's video is going to cover the power and control wheel. Now for anyone who's new here, I'm trained as a community services worker and I'm also a victim survivor of domestic abuse. The aim of this channel is to share the information that I've learnt on my journey through abuse and coming out the other side, through my education in becoming a community services worker, and also through psychoeducational groups and courses that I've done since leaving my abusive marriage. So anyone who's done any sort of research into domestic violence has probably come across the power and control wheel. It's part of the Duluth model, which was developed in the 80s to reduce domestic violence against women. It's named after Duluth, Minnesota, where it was largely founded by social activist Ellen Pence. Let's start at the beginning. What is domestic abuse? So basically it's a pattern of behaviours in a relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner. These behaviours or tactics are represented on the power and control wheel, and they're the underpinning tactics for dominance that abusers use. So they are intimidation. So on the wheel it says it uses her, she for the victim, and he, him in reference to the perpetrator. Like I said, it was developed in the 80s. Things have changed. We do realise now that domestic abuse doesn't discriminate. But yeah, I mean, we're 40 years down the track and we're still using something developed in the 80s, which is not a bad thing. It's just that things need to change. Basically, the more people who understand it, hopefully the less prevalent it will be in our society. So using intimidation, making her afraid by using looks, actions, gestures, or a loud voice, destroying her property, abusing pets, or displaying weapons. So basically intimidation, as we know, is to make timid or fearful in order to compel or deter. So this can be the leering and glowering looks, the hostile physical posturing, so towering over people, so innocuous looking touches that are actually painful, directly or indirectly threatening harm to you or your family or pets. That sort of thing is what they refer to as intimidation on the power and control wheel. Using emotional abuse would be putting her down or making her feel bad about herself, calling her names, making her think she's crazy, playing mind games, humiliating her, or making her feel guilty. Using sarcasm, making jokes at your expense, being condescending, telling you that your opinions or values or ideas are stupid, they don't make sense, criticizing the way you do things, or telling you that you don't meet their standards, and making unreasonable demands of you, basically. And also gaslighting falls under emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is a massive one that goes into control. So next up on the wheel would be using isolation. Looks like controlling what she does, who she sees and who she talks to, what she reads, where she goes, limiting her outside involvement, or using jealousy to justify his actions. So the abuser is basically just trying to keep you away from others so that the victim doesn't have anyone to confide in. It also keeps them from hearing another perspective. If you've only got the perpetrator or the abuser's voice, it's much easier for that person to control what you believe or what you think. They may use jealousy, be it angry jealousy or just the I love you so much jealousy, to keep you home and out of society, to control who you see and where you go and things like that. They may just make such a fuss when you say you're going out that it's easier just to not go, and that basically comes under coercion. So things like taking car keys, or leaving you without phone credit, or disabling the car, or locking you in is obviously an extreme, and it unfortunately happens. Leaving without the ability to contact the outside world are all instances of using isolation. So next on the wheel would be blaming, minimizing, and denying. So making light of the abuse and not taking her concerns about it seriously, saying the abuse didn't happen, shifting responsibility for abusive behavior, or saying that she caused it. So abusers do not take personal responsibility for anything. They will not take responsibility for their words, their actions. They will turn it around and blame the victim generally. He'll say things like, "You're too sensitive, you're overreacting, I was just joking," or the abuse is blamed on an outside factor, so stress or work or drugs or alcohol, anything but themselves. Using children, so making her feel guilty about the children, using children to deliver messages, using visitation to harass her or threaten to take the children away. The abuser generally views their children as property. They're theirs. So they might say things like, "You can go, but you're not taking my child. If you take the children, I'll report you for kidnapping." Or they just turn the kids against you. And we have using male privilege. So treating her like a servant, making all the big decisions and acting like master of the castle, or being the one to define men and women's roles. Again, basically it's a viewing the victim as a possession or property. So basically they're to do what you're told, or for the abuser to do with what they will. Economic abuse or financial abuse. So preventing her from getting or keeping a job, making her ask for money, giving her an allowance, taking her money, or not letting her know about or have access to family income. So yeah, with the whole making you ask for money, also making you explain what you want it for, what you need it for. There's also the flip side. They might make you control the money so that then you're to blame for any financial strife. So if they don't have enough money, it's your fault, or they'll just criticize how you've spent the money. The last segment within the power and control wheel is the using of coercion and threats. That entails threatening to harm her, leave her, commit suicide, or report her to welfare, making her drop charges, making her do illegal things. Coercive control comes from all the other tactics, basically. Each time you're belittled or raged at or intimidated, you're effectively being trained to not take that path again. So you adjust your behavior, and this allows the abuser to effectively come off seeming innocent because they haven't told you not to do this or that, which leaves you as the victim feeling frustrated and crazy, which is really the point in the end. Then of course there's physical violence, which encapsulates everything from physical assault and murder to destroying property, hurting pets, or denying the victim food or sleep. So sexual violence also sits on the outer edge of the power and control wheel, and this takes in degrading jokes and comments, sharing intimate pictures, unwanted touching, demands for sex, coercing consent, forcing unwanted sexual practices, or using harmful objects, and rape. So from all that, we can see that abuse has many elements underlying the overarching physical violence that keeps victims trapped. These elements are carefully crafted together to fit the specific victim that the abuser has in front of them. So they will go through these behaviors and choose just the right cocktail of tactics to achieve the ultimate power and control over the victim. This, coupled with the cycle of violence, leaves the victim confused and trying desperately to get back to the original relationship that they thought they had. Unfortunately, this leads to a vicious cycle and escalation in abuse, which has the victim walking on eggshells and being further beaten down by the exhaustion of trying to please, or at the very least keep the peace with this abusive person. Unfortunately, the victim's trying in vain because they're never going to get it right or be good enough for the abuser. They will constantly keep shifting the expectations so that the victim continues to fail. I hope that if any of what I've shared today has alerted you to problems within your own relationships or that of a loved one's, that you reach out for help. If I can be of assistance in finding local resources for you, please send me an email. My email is in the description box below. I also have a Facebook group that is a support group, so join us over there, and please get yourself some help. So until next time, please take care of yourselves and be kind to each other.